Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 31 of FPL BlackBox. I'm Az, and alongside me, as ever, is the one and only Mr. Mark Southerns. How are you, Mark?
Good evening. Thanks for that introduction. I hope everyone can hear me. I'm not falling for it a second week running if people start trolling in the comments.
Sorry, is that Mr. Mark Southerns or is that PewDiePie? It's hard to.
Yeah, with the RGB and everything. Yeah, well,
no, fancy.
I haven't finished yet. This still looks like a shed, to be honest. It's got carpets and stuff like that, and bookshelves and nice, but I haven't got the RGB lighting or the soundproofing up yet. So that's coming. So week by week, you'll see this. You'll see me turn into PewDiePie and so on. Yeah. If only we had the following that PewDiePie
I was going to say, yeah, if we get anywhere near the subs, we'll be doing all right.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
So you, I mean, we're going to talk about it in a bit, but oh my God, your goalkeeper situation this week is hilarious.
Well, you're not going to put it down to luck, are you?
I don't know if it's luck, but it's bloody jammy when so many goalkeepers miss out that you have like the one goalkeeper who performs well on your bench who comes on.
No, I mean, the thing is, I got a few DMs about this, mentioning the jam word, but I said all along that I won't go Forster. I want Sanchez just in case. I did think Kepa would get a game between now and the end of the season. I didn't think he'd be first choice. So I was very pleased, and we'll look at the effect that's had.
And you did say, in your defence, say that you thought McCarthy might come back in.
I did, I said it last week, and you said, "Oh no, I think he's secure." And I said, "Well, of the top 10 most secure keepers, Forster wouldn't be one of them." And you acknowledged that. It was a surprise though, because they conceded 3 at West Brom. I guess that was it, wasn't it? So he's fickle, isn't he? Old Ralph with his goalkeepers. But what a strange week it's been. As I mean, I've got to say, the first few days of the week I was pretty flat, and I was thinking, what are we going to do on Thursday in BlackBox? Because we go later in the week, and I just thought by the time we come out, everyone would have spoken about this Super League thing and done it to death. And also did you not hear? And I was so deflated. I just felt really flat Monday, Sunday, Monday, and then obviously it started turning around, and it just got a lot more positive very, very quickly. I don't want to dwell on it too much because words have been said.
It was an amazing feeling though, wasn't it? When all the clubs started pulling out, and Sky Sports reporting on it, and it was during the match, I think, wasn't it? And the breaking news was coming down the bottom of the screen, and it was a moment that I think I'll always remember actually in football. It's one of those sort of light bulb type moments that we can say, yeah, we were there when they tried to sell us all out, and we all the fans and everyone. Because the outpour. We won't go into it too much, but the outpouring from everywhere was just incredible, wasn't it? You had, emotion. You had like logistics. You had the fans protesting. You had the clubs, people in the clubs coming out. You had the commentators coming out. BT saying statements saying they were never going to show it.
There's that Boris fella. He piped up, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Nice to agree with Boris about something, but yeah, amazing week.
Yeah, and obviously Neville's kind of speeches were very stirring, and he led the way, didn't he? It's always good to see him be passionate like he is, because he just doesn't hold back. It was incredible to see all the fans come together and everyone unite behind it. It would have been disastrous, obviously. And I mean, obviously I was thinking about what's the impact going to be on FPL, and it was really worrying. I was like, I was going to imagine playing FPL without the top 6 in it. I'll say the top 6, the big 6, or the 6 as they're now called. It was a really worrying few days, but it just burst completely. And the speed at which it collapsed was incredible.
I know.
And
it's people still trying to cling on to it, isn't there? But it's dead. It's dead, and we can all rejoice.
And it was great for me because I was like really not thinking about BlackBox and FPL for those 2 days. And so, I wasn't really preparing content. I was thinking, what are we going to do? What Thursday's show isn't going to matter if this is looming. So I'm really pleased that it's got killed off, and we can concentrate on the FPL stuff and jam like Sanchez. So that's really good. Yes, and just a word on the shed. If you are an old viewer of the Scoutcast, I think we're going back to from episode about 90 onwards. This is where I used to record the Scoutcast. And in fact, one of the first show you were on, I think I was recording from the shed at that point.
No way.
Yeah. And it's quite interesting because I haven't been in this shed for a couple of years. And if you watch the Scoutcast back then, one of the little games that people used to play is Spot the Spider, because often a spider would start appearing on the wall behind me. So we can play that again. And I
spiders.
I did note, well, you won't like this next bit. I did note that every evening, about 10, 11 o'clock, spiders start emerging from holes in my wall. I've got some holes where the beams go. And there were 3 spiders there yesterday and the night before that, just hanging in a web. And when I went to just touch them, I wasn't going to kill them. I was trying to get them out so I could throw them out. They, as one, all 3 of them disappeared into these 3 holes. Right. So basically, the wall next to me could have a nest of spiders in it. Could be hundreds in this. At any moment now, they could come seeping. Yeah. So
it's making me feel all itchy.
Well,
just thinking about it.
I don't mind spiders.
It evolved in it to Where's Your Cat? I remember when you were in used to record and we could see your sofa and stuff. And the cats used to appear. I prefer cats to spiders. Yeah, well, there's no hoovers around, so we won't have any of that. I won't be disturbed by those. But yes, if you see a spider behind me on the wall, get in chat and shout it out, and Az will be creeped out by it. But yes, that's what I've got to contend. But it's much better. I feel much more. I can be exuberant now, and I don't have to worry about waking the kids, which is lovely. So, you haven't got to pack them all off to bed as well, which is nice.
And so I can do more videos, more podcasts.
I don't know how you
stuff.
got away with that for so long.
No,
30 episodes.
They were very, very tolerant of that. Go to bed, go up to bed at 8:30 so I can record with us. Yeah. Anyway, let's crack on. This week, I thought what I'd do is we do a stock check on every position. Goalkeepers you've mentioned is under a bit of upheaval because of the fact that Forster, Leno and Mendy have all apparently been dropped. So we're going to look at keepers, but also checking all 3 positions. And there's also a certain tweet from Ben Crellin, which a lot of podcasts and streams have referenced this week. And I'm going to run with that as well and use the scenario that Ben has constructed. So we're going to look at that, and we're going to use that scenario to look at some players that we can perhaps consider. It's effectively a merge of our watch list and a stock check at the same time. And then, of course, we've got all the usual predictions. We're going to talk about The Apprentice again at the end, aren't we? Because we've had some good candidates for that. And we're going to...
Yeah, I was going to mention just now, actually.
Oh, go on, yeah.
Just while we got people's attention. Just wanted to say thanks for everyone that's sent in their emails. And we had a video. And I must say, if you are interested in applying for the BlackBox Apprentice, and there's some details on the last stream that we did, we'll probably touch on it again a bit later.
Yeah.
The video stuff is really good because there's going to be some video stuff involved, and seeing you on camera and stuff is really cool. And yeah, I think we might have got one already, Mark. I think we've got an apprentice lined up, and we're looking for another one, but we've got a very, very, very good contender.
Yeah, I think one position is filled, and now we're hoping to get 2. And that'd be good. Then we can have one each and then pitch them against each other. And then, we're going to build then the scenarios that we're going to, how we're going to expose them to various elements of what it's like to be an FPL manager, stats, XG, a Twitter account, the eye test and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be an interesting experiment, and we'll touch on it again at the end of the show, and we'll reveal details of what we're looking for and so on. But for now, let's look at our game weeks, and it's another green arrow for us both. So we've got to be pleased. 70 points, Az, do you want to talk through that? Talk us through your team?
Talk me through it. Yeah. Like you say, it's been a weird week because it's been so staggered across the games, and with the Super League stuff, it's been hard to kind of know kind of exactly what's going on. I mean, it's still massively team template. Again, team template doing pretty well. Cody, Trent, Son, Lingard, Kane, Iheanacho, Rudiger on my bench, but my defence all got points. And it's another green arrow. I'm just moving slowly towards the safety of a top 100k finish, which would be, I think, a real achievement this year if I can pull that off. So yeah, just for anyone listening, my team, Mendy, didn't even want Mendy. Really annoyed.
No, you put him in last minute, didn't you? Because he was. Did you have Martinez still? Yeah, you were going to keep Martinez, weren't you?
Yeah, I was going to stick with Martinez. I was between Martinez, Mendy, and Patricio in the end. And in the end, I went with Mendy because I wanted a Chelsea double up, but I didn't want to go with 2 defenders like you did. I mean, let's get onto that in a minute. Mendy in goal, Trent, Reguilon, Cody, Salah, Fernandez. We said it last week. Son, Jota, Lingard, Kane captain, and Iheanacho. So yeah, template, boring, but delivering the goods.
I ran it through live FBL net and 89%. Yeah. Well, I'm 81. I'm very template as well. It's strange, isn't it? I mean, we've both done well by sticking to the template recently. So it becomes addictive, doesn't it? It becomes like, oh, why should I change? I'll just pick highly owned players that I think will do well.
There's a name we mentioned last week who's really threatening to break it up, I think.
Yeah, I think I know who you're going to talk about, but we'll mention that when we get to the particular data. My team, I've got 69 at the moment, but of course I haven't got 69. What's beautiful is I've got 11 points on my bench to come on. So at the moment I've got 80 points. That's my smug voice in case you've heard it before. I'm sure you've heard it before.
So unbelievably smug.
It's Mendy, who of course is going to be subbed out for the Mr. Sanchéz of Brighton. I'm very happy about. Alonso got me 6, Trent 8, Rudiger 7. Lingard 7, Son 12, Fernandes 2, Jota 3. Kane, my captain, 24. Calvert-Lewin, who was injured, he brings Holding off the bench for just a 2. And Nacho's playing tonight, who I think has got a goal, has he? It's 3-0 when we last checked in.
Yeah, he's got one.
Yeah, and Vardy's ripping it up as well, isn't he? So Vardy's at last looks like he's recovered amongst the goals, despite looking jaded in the last few weeks. But Nacho gets another goal. He's still providing very strong value, so no reason to move off him.
Let's just talk really quickly about Brighton v Chelsea, because in your wildest dreams that couldn't have gone better for you. To get double Chelsea clean sheet that Alonso plays in that you're worried about.
Oh, that was the first thing.
And you lose Mendy and getting Sanchez with 9. I mean, poor old who is it in the chat? We had I've lost it now. Who it was? Someone in the chat was saying, Haiku Nu says, Chelsea got a clean sheet. They had Azpilicueta, doesn't play, Dawson off the bench, -3.
Painful. Yeah. I mean, the two, first of all, Alonso started and Dave didn't, which is obviously a bonus because I know that Dave was highly owned. So it started well with the team sheets. And I really fancied Alonso. I thought my points were all going to come for Alonso. I could see a haul in this game. I was thinking, they're going to concede chances down the right. Ziyech and James crossing from the right-hand side to Alonso on the far post. The scenarios were all there playing out in my head. He was dreadful, though, wasn't he? I mean,
our team did not indicate 0-0.
When you saw the Brighton team sheet?
Yeah, when I saw the Brighton team, I thought, well, we're throwing this to focus on Sheffield United so we can get a win in that, because it was a mismatch of players and I think we should have won, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, second half, you were the better team. Really were. I mean, Chelsea were really poor second half. Yeah. I looked at it, and when it became clear that Alonso was not going to provide the threat that I thought he would, I was thinking, well, now the best result is a 0-0. And it's a really weird experience sitting watching a game and hoping for 0-0. It's like, but actually,
and it never normally is.
No, it's not enjoyable, is it? When you've got defenders on both teams, you're thinking, I don't want a goal at all. You don't want to be willing that. But second half, it started to think like, well, this is actually looking like a 0-0 now, because Chelsea don't look like they've got anything in the final third. And Brighton grew into the game and they were the most likely to score. And it's every time Brighton got the ball in the Chelsea half, I was starting to get worried. But yeah, it turned out brilliantly. And I was thinking, well, is Sanchez in the bonus? I've got this thing now, I don't know about anybody else, where when I've got defenders playing and they've kept a clean sheet, I refuse to look at the bonus points, because I've got this superstition. If you look at the bonus points and they're in the bonus points, it'll all go wrong. It'll all go belly up. Because ever since the James Justin one against Newcastle where Carroll scored. So ever since then, I've just not looked. And but obviously in my head, I'm thinking that he's made 3 or 4 saves. That should be enough. I don't think because Zuma got booked and then White got sent off. So I was thinking, well, there aren't many defenders who are going to beat him. And Kepa made 2 saves and got the maximum bonus somehow.
Yeah.
What was that? It must be in passes, I guess. I don't know.
It's when you start celebrating every 3-yard pass and they kick the ball out and it goes out for a throw and you're like throwing the remote on the control. That's when you know it's
bad, isn't it?
You've gone a bit far.
It does make you negative watching football when you're willing for a 0-0, but it was a fantastic result for me. It couldn't have gone any better. And you were quite quick to point that out. You were texting me straight away going, well, that was a good result for you, wasn't it? I was like, yeah,
that was exactly the voice.
Very spiteful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was at the other one going, yes.
Smug.
I know. Well, it was a bit of luck, but I did keep saying, I spent that little bit more on a keeper just in case. And I'm glad. It was mainly for 33 because he's got the fixture. and for 35 because Chelsea got a tougher game in that. So I didn't expect Sanchez to be playing a part, but I'm very, very glad he's come in. So I'm very pleased with that. Yes. So you can call it jam, but I'd rather call it brilliant squad management.
Skills.
Yeah, of course. Great and the good. So Bob back on top ahead of Fabio. Got a bit of a cushion with the points coming off the bench. So we'll see what happens there. But you are firmly mid-table now.
Mid-table. That's where we want to be. That was always
very,
the target.
Very good. Very, very good indeed. So ahead of Matthew Jones, Joe, Vila Ronca, Tom Freeman and Late Riser. You are 7th, though, which is good and bad news for you because unfortunately Neil Rigg is the Florentino Perez. He has approached me and just asked if the top 6 would break away and form the Great League, leading just the Good League. So you might be top of just the Good League next season while the Great go off and do their own thing.
I'll take that. It'd be good to be top of something.
It's all Neil Rigg's idea. I'm not sure. I think General's going to be first to drop out and I might follow, but yeah. But yes, 7th. Very well done, Az. Very well done indeed.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said that your rank doesn't tell the whole story. People who judge people purely on ranks, I actually feel happier with this than I probably did when I finished in the top 1K, because that was kind of, I feel like I kind of lucked my way in the last few seasons into that. But this has been a proper battle of attrition to force my way back up into this position. So if I can get into the top 100K, I'll really look back at this season with some pride. So,
yeah, it's funny. I had a similar season last time out. I came 177K and it's not a great finish, but to be honest, where I was halfway and how long it took me to get out of the top, I was in the million mark for ages and ages and ages. I couldn't get out. And you had something similar and you just had those few weeks to break out and now you're just steadily growing. And when you do that, it does feel like an achievement. Whereas, when you're like straight into the top 10K after like 10 weeks and then you grind it slowly towards the top,
exactly
1K, it feels less of an achievement almost. So I think you have done very well. I think you're setting your sights too low. 117K now, 8 game weeks to go. Or is there 6 to go? With double game weeks as well. You've got no chips left, but I still think you could aim for 20K, I reckon, at least, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, there's no reason. You got to set your sights high, but if I got top 100K this season, I would feel would be an okay one.
And so, going back to a topic that we've chatted about before, did you feel the pressure of that, doing this show and doing more, being full-time fantasy? Did you feel that pressure to be like, well, I've got to get a better rank as a result of that? Are you going to admit that or not?
Well, do you know what? That we talked about this at the start of the season, didn't we? About how BlackBox was learning from mistakes and stuff. And we kind of said it in a bit as a joke, saying, well, if we do badly, it's going to at least give us some content to talk about. But it has been really interesting doing the reflective stuff, in the international breaks, we're looking back at where the trajectories have gone between us and all of that. So, no, do you know what? I think when I first started out, when I first started doing the Scoutcast with you all, I was a lot more stressed about it. But I think this year has been okay. And, given the circumstance with COVID and stuff, I'm not saying that anyone who's like under 100K should feel really ashamed of themselves. It's just for me, I had that target in mind of 100K when I was around the million mark, and I'm kind of getting closer to it. I think this is a season to give yourself a break. If you're not doing that well, I just look at everything that's gone on and come back stronger next year.
Yeah, and I think after a while, when you've played for many, many seasons, you've got some good ranks under your belt, the pressure is off a bit as well, because you can, it's just one of those things, isn't it? Everything you can, late risers, case in point, everything you try just doesn't come off. And then obviously you try and do other things to push it, which I've done in the past, and then they don't come off and it gets worse. And I've been there before. But if you've built up enough credit, it's not a big deal and you can relax on it a bit. But I think, obviously if you're in your second or third season and you're in the Twitter community, it's different.
Yeah, I think the key thing as well is I tried not to take myself too seriously. And I think when you were in the position you were in, when you were doing the FPL show and stuff, I know you, and I know that you can have a laugh and stuff, but I think when you're in that limelight, you've kind of got to take yourself a bit seriously because everyone's calling you an expert and all this kind of stuff. Because I've never really had that, and I've always kind of been a bit jokey and laughing at bad decisions and stuff. It's kind of it's helped. Whereas I think if you're starting off a podcast and you're trying to really, sell your credibility in things, then you're kind of making it harder for yourself in a way. Whereas if you're a bit more relaxed about things, then it's maybe a bit easier. So I think that's probably helped.
Oh yeah, I mean that season I came 115th while doing the show. That was like, that's it now. That was almost like winning it. That was like, well, I've got nothing to prove.
Yeah, no,
because that's it. I can relax a bit now. And because I thought I was going to do the show for many years, and I thought, well, having done well in the first season, no one can question it, because I always go, well, yeah, but the first year was. So that was a big relief. Yeah, it is a weird thing, and we'll talk about it, I'm sure, going into next season, about setting expectations and setting goals. And yeah, it's been an interesting one. And I set a top 1,000 finish as my goal, and I should go up to just under the 3,000 mark with the 6 weeks to go. It's in my sights, but we'll see if I can do it.
I don't think you're quite understanding the concept of this podcast. The concept of this podcast is that we get better each season as we learn from our mistakes. It's not just finishing the top K on the first season.
Yeah, but it's interesting, isn't it? Because I said that doing this show and being intensely involved again to the degree I am, doing all the research and makes me better. Whereas I think other managers, and General's one of them, that when you're so involved in creating content and distracted by everything around you, it can make your performance worse. So I'm completely opposite to that. So I'm really pleased that I proved that again, that actually I'm doing well in a season where I'm intensely studying data and watching more matches and being more part of the community. Whereas last season, I wasn't doing that and I did worse. And maybe it's not linked, but I think there is that. I think I have to be this involved to do well. I'm not saying I'll do this every season, but I don't think I can have a good season unless I'm intensely involved like I have been doing this show with you. So thanks very much, Az. You take all the credit.
Yeah. I know. Well, I help you with all those Souček decisions as well. So
yeah, and
that's my contribution.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was the player you talked me out of? Reguilon as well. I was going to go Alonso to Reguilon, and you said, "Oh, don't do that," and it was the right call. Although he got 6 points, but I would have broke even.
I was pretty happy with that, actually, to be fair.
Yeah, I think after the first game you would be. Right, let's have the Crellin Catch-up. I mean, a lot of shows mention Ben Crellin, but not many shows have a particular section named after him. I think he should almost have his own theme tune, the Crellin Catch-up. So this is a tweet or a chart that he put out earlier in the week. I think it was yesterday or day before yesterday. And this scenario is something which he is willing to say he's 70% certain will happen. So he's quite confident this is a scenario that's going to unfold when we get the information about the end of the season and how that affects the double game week. And we think that's going to be game week 35. We're not saying, Ben's not saying, and we're not saying this is definitely going to happen, but he feels this is the most likely scenario. So he feels that game week 35 will bring double game weeks for Villa, Palace, Everton and Southampton, and those four teams won't blank in 36. And then there'll also be double game weeks for Arsenal, Chelsea, Leicester and Manchester United in 35, but those four teams will. So that's a scenario he's presenting. So in other words, if you want double game week players and you want the assurance of a game week 36 fixture, it's Villa, Palace, Everton and Southampton, I'm afraid, which is slim pickings, as we'll see in a bit. Where the bigger names, yes, you'll get your double game week, but then you have to be prepared for the blank in 36. So 70% certain is what he said. I don't know how he come up with that, but a lot of podcasts and streams have gone with this as well. So I thought I would too. But like I say, there's no guarantees. What's your immediate reaction to that?
Well, firstly, a confession to make. I completely forgot about this. I completely forgot. I think I knew that Villa and Everton had a double. I forgot about all the blank in 36 and the cup and all of that. I just hadn't prepared for that at all. So I'm glad you're here for a start. Yeah, it's always tricky when you've got no chips and then you're trying to navigate a double going straight into a blank. It's one of the reasons why I was a bit hesitant. Well, I wasn't because I forgot about it, but it's one of the reasons why if you've got someone like Vidra, you're going to be more happy than me, who's got like Davis, who you're probably not going to get anything out of, because having this full squad is going to be really useful. So you can kind of tap into these as much as possible. I mean, in terms of standout double, I mean, the best two games are for Palace, aren't they? But
it looks that way. Sheffield United and Southampton away is what Ben's saying could materialise for them. But you're not going to go to Palace.
No, and I mean the other one that stands out there is Leicester, because obviously they've got the Palace game, the Southampton game, and then Newcastle home, United away, tricky. But going into that with I'd say at least 2 Leicester players. I mean, that's what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to get in at least 1 more Leicester player this week, maybe 2, to tap into that run.
The difficulty, of course, is then
tricky. None of the fixtures really stand out to me.
No, the doubles aren't great. Yeah. I mean, there'll be managers bench boosting in this week, right? And I imagine a lot of us are going to have players from these teams, right? So we won't have to make too many transfers to benefit from it. Obviously, it makes sense now with your future transfers to try and consider this. But as I said, this is not guaranteed by any means. It's just what Ben has outlined as the most likely. But yeah, you've got to be careful when you're investing, if you are going to invest in the likes of Leicester, because obviously they blank in 36. So it's about really if this is what materialises. And we anticipate, unfortunately, Ben saying that we're not going to probably find out before the deadline tomorrow night now. It's going to be afterwards. So we can't really make our transfer this week with any certainty at all. Other than the fact that we know that, Everton are going to have a clean sheet, a double game week, as are Villa, right? So those teams you could invest in. But yeah, we just have to be. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. If you got chips up your sleeve, this scenario could be used. Yeah, that's the first one. Yeah, I mean, if you've got a free hit left, then I think you're looking at 36 as a way of getting through that, haven't you?
Yeah, for sure. And if you've kept it for this long, fair play to you. I think anyone with chips left at this stage is doing well. I mean, your old mate, Mr. Slippers, hopefully watching tonight. He's got a trick up his sleeve, isn't he? So.
Yeah, I've caught him low. I've gone past him, so now he's got to try and get back after me. So it's nip and tuck he's got the chip up his sleeve, like you say, so he can come again for sure. And in the Great and the Good League, I think Magnus has got 2 chips left. Let's go and check. He's in third and breathing down. It's free hit and the bench boost. Yeah, so he's going to bench boost in 35 and lightly free hit in 36. So he's set up very nicely. So it's one of those things.
All the people below me have got chips left as well. So. Yeah, it's interesting into the season.
It is, and I think that I was saying before about saving your chips to this stage. There is uncertainty, and we don't really know what scenario is going to unfold. But if this is the most likely, you can see that if you've got the free hit, you're in a good position. So we'll see how well it could be used if this is indeed the scenario. So what I did was I started looking at those teams: Villa, Palace, Everton, Southampton, Arsenal, Chelsea, Leicester, and United as the ones who could have a double game week in 35, and then highlighted those teams in the data we're going to use tonight. Obviously, this data doesn't include the Leicester versus West Brom game, so that fixture is missing, but all the other games are in. So let's start looking at the usual data, and then we're going to look at every position. So I've highlighted the teams in. What's interesting, the teams in yellow are the teams that double in game week 35 maybe, and then blank in 36 maybe. And you can see that those teams are all a lot stronger defensively than those teams who double in 35 and play in 36. So it's obvious straight away that it is slim pickings. If you want the double and you don't want a blank, if that scenario does materialise, you're struggling, aren't you? You really are. I mean, the Palace defence is miserable. Southampton defence has struggled. Villa's has really declined. Whereas in the top half, you've got Chelsea, Leicester and United, all very strong. So it's worrying, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I mean, defensively, I think a lot of people are actually quite settled. You've got, I look at my defence. I mean, I've got Trent, Rudiger, Cody. Like there are 3 that I can play every week probably until pretty much the end of the season. Maybe Wolves, last 3 games aren't that great. But then I've got like Holding, who I'm quite happy with. It's quite, I don't know. Obviously, I've got Reguilon, who I'm probably looking to get a Leicester player in. But I think defence is the thing, isn't it? The template is quite settled. That's the thing. And Jota's an interesting one because he's not been training today, so he's kind of someone that could be taken out. Obviously, we don't know what's going to be happening with Kane. People are getting sick of Fernandes, so I don't think people are going to be too likely to be making these defensive transfers to try and tap into these. There's going to be more activity, I think, around the attacking players, which I agree with because I think that's where the more potential is.
Yeah, I think one defensive change is probably what I'm going to limit myself to. I mean, I'm worried. I mean, Alonso's got to go for me, right? So Castagno is obviously the target. I'm looking at a Leicester defender, but then they will blank in 36.
You hate Leicester defenders.
I do, but that run, I mean, we talked about it. If we bring up the we bring up the ticker for defences. Leicester have got, this is ranked in order of the likelihood of defence clean sheet.
Mark, I've got to point something out at this stage.
Not a spider, surely. No?
There's a lot of people in the chat saying that your chair makes it look like you've got like cat ears.
It does, doesn't it? That's very true.
And now,
it's not actually the chair,
now.
It's the cushion behind the chair. I've got this nice... There you go. I've changed that. There. Oh, no, it's still there. It's still, yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
Star
it is true. I'll set up a bit because I don't want that. Leicester.
I miss it.
Leicester have got Palace, Southampton, Newcastle, and then potentially with the double in 35 as well. And in Ben's scenario, Leicester will play Newcastle and Manchester United. So Palace, Southampton, Newcastle, Manchester United, the 4 opponents over 3 game weeks. They're doing well tonight. Clean sheet as we're recording. Castagne's got an assist as well. So one defensive transfer is probably what I'm going to allow myself, and the Leicester defence is probably the one I'm going to look at. So you're right. It's in attack that we're going to make most of our changes. Absolutely. Just want to point out that over the last 4 matches, City's defence is gone back to the top and Brighton's is in second in terms of minutes per XG conceded. City's defence has been ridiculous. 257.1 minutes per XG conceded over the last 4. That's despite having obviously 10 men at Villa as well. So they are definitely establishing themselves as a defence to look at. But of course, the rotation is so severe. They don't have a double game week. It's unlikely we're going to pay visits.
And they have conceded in the last 2 games. In the last 2 games as well. I trust them a lot less now. I mean, it was interesting for a spell when they lost and United won, and it was kind of like, oh, could United claw up? I
saw
deficit. That. And it was like maybe that's going to refocus them, and maybe he's going to play a strong team again and just make sure they get over that line. But I think I can't see it anyway. But I don't know. I just don't know about them defensively though. I think some of that focus is gone. And do you remember a few seasons ago they would often concede from kind of 1 shot or 2 shots, just kind of sloppy, stupid goals. And that's almost been happening again. Very few shots, but managing to get through.
A bit like Liverpool this season, basically. Don't concede much, but when they do, it's a big chance and they concede a goal. And also the uncertainty in the defence. Laporte seems to be first choice now with Diaz. Stones has got suspended, so he doesn't play the Carabao Cup. What does that mean? If you're holding Diaz, is he as certain as you think with the Champions League semi-finals coming up? There's so much uncertainty. I don't want City players because I don't want to feel that anxiety before the team sheet.
No, I'm glad. I don't even really have that sense of fear going into the match that I thought I would. I mean, De Bruyne missed out, but Gundogan was there, but Cancelo missed out. It was, again, it's just kind of like just every week it's just such a lottery, and I'm just glad to be off that.
Glad to be out of it. Yeah. Fair enough. So attack, you mentioned Manchester United. Yeah, over the last 4, United's attack is the most effective. 46 minutes per XG in their last 4 matches. So they are the most in-form attack. And again, if you look at the yellow teams, these are the teams which Ben thinks will double in game week 35 but blank in 36. They're the superior teams. They're the ones that you'd want to get on, but you'd have to get through the blank if Ben's scenario materialises. Interesting as well, the last 4 matches, look at Newcastle and West Brom. 2nd and 3rd for minutes per XG. Obviously, it doesn't include West Brom's fixture at Leicester, but those 2 teams have subtly kind of found their mojo. Yeah,
told you they were an attacking team. Told you that 20 weeks ago.
They've done it before, haven't they? I mean, it's when they get Saint-Maximin fit. I mean, Wilson as well, but Saint-Maximin is the catalyst, isn't he? As soon as he's fit, they suddenly feel like they can be an attacking team and take more chances because they've got a cutting edge, I guess, with Wilson. So
as soon as I said they should be the team we should all be targeting, they've gone on a mad run. Typical, isn't it? Yeah. United though, I mean, the player I was hinting at earlier is obviously Greenwood. It's just the difference. It's deja vu, isn't it, from last season? This time last season, lockdown ended. United went on a crazy run. They were top of all the metrics. Greenwood was a 4.5 striker, absolutely smashing it. Start the season, 7 mil mid. I think a lot of us thought that's it. He's going to be, one of the best priced players in the game. And it just hasn't transpired. But now he is someone that I'm really, really, really looking at, because if he's going to be playing in and around that forward position for United, given these stats and given the form he's showing, and given that Bruno has almost dropped off a cliff in terms of his performances and output, I like it.
Yeah, and it's interesting because if you remember at the end of last season, Foden and Greenwood both emerged, and we were saying, well, next season we've got to get them.
God, Foden was good yesterday.
And again, it's happened again. The last section of the season, both of them have just come alive. And it's obviously because they're getting regular starts now. Foden was always there. I mean, we were saying week after week, if Foden just got a sustained run in the team, he'll be brilliant.
It's only for about two or three seasons, but I mean, now England, he's got to start for us now.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because we were saying, a few months back, build the team around Grealish. And now it's almost like, well, let's build the team around Lingard. Well, maybe actually let's build it around Foden. It's like we have
build the team around Lingard. Let's maybe go.
Well, come on, no, I think Lingard. I think Lingard is playing himself into the 11. It was probably can't get in now because Foden's got to be there, and Grealish, I think, when he's fit, if he's fit, has got to be there as well. In my opinion,
what is going on with Grealish? He's still not.
Well, I did say, didn't I, that I kind of predicted this would happen, and I said eventually people will start saying that it's not an injury and he's on strike and his agent is stirring things up. And that hasn't happened yet because obviously Grealish is very loyal to Villa. But it does make me wonder what's going on because it's very suspicious. Like, injured, then he was fit but he was ill, wasn't he? Do you remember Dean Smith said, he's ill, right? Then he broke down again.
Yeah.
And then, and it's just become a bit of a saga. And the press haven't started prying yet and saying, oh, what's at play here? Maybe there's something else. But it does make you wonder, doesn't it, what's going on? Because it's just bizarre that he's got to get back in the Villa team and fit to get into the Euro squad, I think.
I mean, I just don't really see what... I don't think there can be anything sinister behind it in terms of contracts or anything like that because, I mean, he's Villa were on course for a top 4 finish. He was like the darling of the media and the league and playing for an England spot. I don't know. There'd be no reason for him to do that. I think it must be injury related. I just think the injury he's had is much worse than what Dean Smith is letting on. And you called it almost straight away. You said, I don't think you'll see him again this season.
Which is a shame because then he will struggle to get into the squad.
But it's starting to look that way, isn't it? More and more weeks go by and he's not playing. And Villa, and look how much it's affected Villa. I mean, they were
it's
flying.
Here.
And
last 4 matches, they're the 3rd worst attack of minutes per XG.
There you go.
And for me, at the halfway point, he was Player of the Year. And now, arguably he should still be in the reckoning, but he's not going to be, I don't think, because he's just been absent. It is like, I think it's almost like when that news broke and it leaked of Grealish's injury, it was almost like Dean Smith said, I'm not going to reveal the full truth now. It's almost like he didn't want to confirm what that... Because the talk was he was out for 3 months, wasn't it, when that was leaked? And then he came out and said, he'll be back in a couple of matches. And then it just went on and on. It now looking like it is going to be 3 months. So very, very strange. Team data, this is for the season. And you mentioned Greenwood. We'll look at his recent data in a moment. But Cavani has been in the top echelons of this data in terms of minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty all season. And now he's another one who is obviously coming to the fore with the injury to Martial and the fact that he's a regular starter. He is rested though. He doesn't, unlike Greenwood, he's not being played relentlessly. He does get rests. Is Cavani, as he's a forward and we're short of forward options, is Cavani a player that you're also considering?
Well, no, not anymore. We talked about him last week. He just got 11 points against Spurs, and we thought, Cavani could be someone who shakes things up a bit. I think I even said this could be like a move we could do from Fernandes to Cavani and shake things up. But with Greenwood there, in the form he's in, I mean, I know he can play on the right, and there isn't really a United player who's really made that right spot their own. I just think Greenwood is so effective at the moment that playing him through the middle, I think, is the best place for him. And so Cavani got 45 minutes against Burnley, did get a goal, fair play, but I think you're always going to be worried about where he's going to play.
The rest,
because Greenwood is versatile, right? Cavani isn't.
Yeah.
So no, I wouldn't go there now.
No, fair enough. And if we look at the data of the last 4 matches, this is where Greenwood really shows up. Minutes per XGI non-penalty, 98.5, which puts him just behind Kane and Salah in terms of his performances. He's got 4 goals and an assist in those last 4 game weeks. And his minutes per chance, 16.5, which is only behind Salah and Antonio over the same spell. I mean, Salah's picked up massively. A shot every 14.2 minutes in the last 4 game weeks, and minutes per XGI, 82.9. So when we get to the captain decision later, Salah is hard to deny because previously his data was simmering. Now it's really at boiling point again. But yeah, Mason Greenwood is doing everything. Numbers are there. Eye test is there. Fixtures aren't bad. He possibly will have the double game week in game week 35, according to Ben's scenario. But he's a midfielder. That's the problem. And you have to break up the template to get him in. But you feel you're willing to.
Yeah, well, I mean, the other thing with Greenwood is, when the stats are good as well, he's such a clinical finisher. Like, he's been said by multiple people that he's the best finisher at United. And, look at like Kane and Vardy. And you see players like that who are getting lots of chances and are good at converting them. You think, oh, we're really onto something here. And I get that sense with Greenwood as well. We saw it last season. Just he'd only need a couple of chances and he'd get something out of them. The thing to me is it's kind of come at a perfect time with this Jota thing, because I'm looking at my team and thinking I've got 3 Liverpool players. They're still not there. They're still not there. Trent's looking better. Salah's, I'm happy to keep Salah. Do I need all 3? Again, Jota hasn't got anything. I think he's been a bit unlucky.
Yeah, he has. Yeah.
The other week when Mane went through and just could have squared it to him, and he was completely free.
And he played well at Leeds as well.
Yeah. I mean, obviously he's great, but you've got to look for these kind of potential. And I don't know if triple Liverpool, if him with the injury as well, and the likes of Greenwood around means that could be something that I look to switch. So I am considering doing Jota to Greenwood this week
as your free transfer.
I've got 2.
Have you?
So right. Be Reguilon down to Fofana, I think, and then Jota to Greenwood. Yeah,
I mean, just looking at the attacking ticker, Liverpool are top for the remaining 6 game weeks. Obviously, Newcastle at home this week, United away, but then they end on a run of Southampton at home, West Brom away, Burnley away, Palace at home. So you wouldn't want to take 3 Liverpool into that? I mean,
it's a great run. It's why I got 3 in initially. But I'm looking at Greenwood and thinking I feel like I'm at the moment what he's doing. I feel like I've almost got to make a spot for him because he's now a position midfielder playing for the best attacking team in the league at the moment, in great form. And you don't get many opportunities to do things like that. And I feel like you kind of got to take them when you can. And I'm looking at the rest of my midfield, and I'm looking at the likes of Son, like Lingard, Salah. I'm not going to be losing any of those. I mean, Fernandes could be the one that I lose. So if I wanted to, I could do Fernandes down to Jota. If Jota starts showing some form and stuff, and go down to that. It's Fernandes and Jota to me. They're the ones out of the whole template at the moment. They're the 2 weaker links, maybe. And it's a little bit. This is what I mean. If Jota had scored that goal the other week and he hasn't got the injury, then I think it's a bit. It may be that it's kind of influencing me a little bit. But there's an opportunity now if Jota is injured to break away from that for I think 1 week or 2.
Being a bit hasty. I mean, it depends on the nature of the injury. I just look at those Liverpool fixtures and think, I think Jota can return points in that. And United's fixtures to end on Liverpool, Villa, Leicester, Fulham, Wolves. They are capable defences. I mean, on this ticker, they're 6th and bottom. They're not rated very highly on this. But obviously, United's form is incredibly strong. We just saw their top of the attacking data last 4 in terms of expected goals. So I'm kind of torn. I mean, you're right. It's dangled before us, and he's just got 2 goals, and it's a bit chasing points. That it feels like that, but it is still an opportunity.
But you're not going to lose Fernandes before Leeds.
No,
I don't think that's the right play. Jota's not just got the injury, so we don't know he's out, but it's looking a bit likely he's out. Normally when we see these like absence in trainings and there's a bit of rumours going around, they do tend to be based on something. Not saying it's 100% definite, but if he is out of this Newcastle game, then he's away at United as well the next game. So I'd rather have Greenwood than Jota in that game.
Yeah.
And then that's when you can move Fernandes back to him if he was back and fit and you wanted him. That would be something that I'm considering. So you're getting 2 games, but he's probably missing one anyway. The other one's United, and you're getting in Greenwood, who's just in the purple patch to try and keep it going.
Yeah, plus
that's the thinking.
Plus, of course, I think Klopp's team sheets are quite readable. I mean, the Salah rest perhaps was left field a bit, but that was his turn. So you kind of think...
That was annoying.
You didn't see it?
No, did you?
I thought Salah would get a rest at some point because Mane had one. And I think when we got Jota fit, we saw this earlier in the season, there's always a chance that he'll take turns with Mane and Salah to rest them. I didn't see it for the Leeds game, no. I thought it was coming at some point, but not there. It was a blow, wasn't it? Because, that was a good game on paper for Salah. But at least... They were poor, yeah.
Poor again, Liverpool.
I know. They don't convince.
I thought Leeds were brilliant.
Yeah, well, Trent had a good game again. But at least from a Salah standpoint, we know he starts against Newcastle, surely. So, in a way, it's kind of reinforced him for that game.
Yeah, he's a captain, I think.
Yeah, well, we'll see when we get to that later. Okay, let's look at the goalkeeper situation. And we're going to look at each position in light of Ben Crellin's scenario. And I guess we come to you first here with this because you're in the situation like quite a few managers who wildcarded recently. You have got Mendy and Forster. So you've got no keeper going into 33, but realistically, you might not have a keeper now until the end of the season. So there is talk that Mendy could get recalled, right? It's not a given that Kepa's going to keep the shirt forever.
What? Of course he'd get recalled.
Yeah,
that's not even a debate.
But
he's
when?
Number one, he's going to play. He's going to play pretty much every game.
So you're confident he's going to get recalled and you won't need to change. Right.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I think that Kepa's done all right in the games that he's had against City and against Brighton. But you suspect that Mendy's straight back in this week then?
Yeah, because I think he's the number one choice, and this week was a really weird one with all the rotation that seemed to go on with goalkeepers. I mean, Leno missing out for Ryan.
Yeah,
it's a massive blow for anyone that had him, and then McCarthy and Forster, that merry-go-round carrying on, and Pope missed out again, didn't he? It was. I've never known a week where so many like first choice goalkeepers have all missed out. So, like I said in the description, if you've managed to get out a goalkeeper this week, fair play. I think you've done quite well. But no, I'm confident Mendy's going to play the majority of games. He hasn't done anything to lose his place. He hasn't made mistakes. They've been solid. They're chasing that top 4 spot. I think he just likes to play Kepa every now and then, just to kind of say, you're not completely isolated, and probably to keep his price tag up a bit.
Okay, interesting. I mean, he's done nothing to be. I mean, it's not like they conceded. He's kept 2 consecutive clean sheets. I think I'm 60-40 thinking Kepa's going to start again, but we'll have to see. Yeah, I just think, well, if he's kept a clean sheet, 2 consecutive clean sheets, I don't think it's guaranteed that Mendy comes back. I think General had a poll this today, and I think 60% of Chelsea fans, or 60% of that vote, said they thought Mendy would return. It's likely, I think, but I just worry because Kepa hasn't done anything wrong. I mean, 2 clean sheets, it's difficult to drop him. I think he didn't look.
The last time he played was in Game Week 24.
Yeah, it's crazy. It came out of nowhere.
Newcastle at home. He's played Newcastle at home and Brighton at home. Like, I don't know. He might get Fulham at home, but Mendy's going to play against West Ham, City, Arsenal, Leicester, Villa.
You think?
I'd have thought, yeah, because he's a better keeper than Kepa.
Oh, it's interesting. This table shows XG prevented, and his XG prevented isn't that great, minus 3.9. So he's not up there with the top keepers in terms of XG prevented. He's not showing as one of the top keepers in that respect. And generally, though, he had a dodgy spell, but then he looked like he was out of it, didn't he? As soon as Tuchel came in, it looked like Mendy was kind of back to his assured best that we saw earlier in the season. He just had that little wave, that little tremor a little bit when Lampard was kind of on his way out. So I kind of agree. He's the better keeper for me. Yeah, but
I'm not going to lie. I didn't even consider it. I haven't seen General's poll. I just assumed everyone would be like, yeah, Mendy will be back. It's just a one-off for Kepa coming in. Looking at the chat though, I think it's pretty split. I think, you know, people are saying that I'm wrong. People are saying you're wrong. It clearly is more of a thing than I maybe gave it credit for.
Right. So at the moment though, you're not considering needing to shop for a keeper.
Well, I'm a bit now.
Right. I think if you've got Forster, I think it's pretty sure McCarthy's going to keep the start for a while until he looks bad again. But he has looked dreadful most of the season. I mean, his XG prevented is -10, which is the worst in our table. So in other words, he has allowed goals when not expected to allow goals to a tune of -10. When you look at Martinez, he's at 5.6 in the positive. So he's prevented 5.6 goals. Yeah. Oh, God, Matt Ryan down there on 4.8. It's sorted by minutes per point. And Martinez, not surprisingly, right at the top. What's interesting as well is I worked out the save points earned by every keeper. And Martinez has earned 28 save points, Pope 27, Johnston 30, Meslier 33 save points. That's the equivalent of 8 clean sheets. So you add 8 clean sheets to the 9 they've got, and suddenly you've got he's been a bargain, hasn't he? I mean, Martinez is still the number one choice, of course, but Meslier has done brilliantly in his first season. Yeah,
and it's why I'm annoyed. Literally when we were talking about goalkeepers before, I said Mendy doesn't fit both brackets. He gets the clean sheets but doesn't get the saves, and it's why going for the cheaper goalkeepers who make those saves often is the better player. Martinez has just been perfect because he's played for a team which has way overperformed what everyone thought they'd do this season, and he's been making the saves, and they've been keeping clean sheets.
14 clean sheets.
Similar to what Pope normally does.
Yeah, 14 clean sheets.
He's started 1 million less.
28 save points, which is he's impersonated Pope and done better, and that's why he's out in front. And interesting, Martinez is one of those players, if Crellin is correct, who will double in 35 and have a 36 fixture. So I think it's pretty clear that if you are shopping for a keeper. Yeah, I know. And did I talk you out of him? I was surprised you were going to keep him in the wild card.
I think you said you were surprised. That was enough.
Mind games, reverse mind games.
Yeah, I shouldn't have gone for Mendy. I know it's easy to say with hindsight, but it was one of those moves that never really felt right. But
yeah. It's funny, I always thought Mendy would lose his spot a couple of times. So I saw Kepa getting a couple of, which is why I went Sanchez. But now I'm wondering how permanent it is. We'll have to see. But if you're shopping for a keeper, I mean, it just looks obvious go Martinez, because he's the only Villa player I think that I would look at while Grealish is out. Watkins, while there were huge strikers, and we're going to look at it in a minute, I just don't think it convinces enough yet. He's playing better, but he just doesn't get the service without Grealish there. Yep. So Martinez right out in front in terms of keeper. But Mendy, you're absolutely right. 8 save points, 14 clean sheets, 115 points. And minutes per points are good, but it's those save points that really make a difference. So we just take this into next season, don't we?
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing. That's why. I mean, Mendy's a little bit different because I mean his price was at 5 was probably quite attractive, and you don't necessarily to get a top 4 chasing goalkeeper for 5 million is something you should consider. You look at the likes of Ederson and Alisson and stuff. They never justify that 6. I think the only one they did was De Gea a few years ago when he was just making was it against Arsenal with 14 saves or something, and he was just he was the kind of the first real premium keeper that ever really justified that amount. But most of the time, it's why I would very rarely pay over 5 for a keeper.
Yeah, and so this kind of learning, we know it, but it's just nice to see the numbers. And obviously Martinez will probably be 5.5 next season, right? So we'll have to find another option. Meslier will be interesting to see how much he goes up. I think he'll still be fairly cheap, but Leeds I don't think will change the way they play. So Meslier could well be the one to look at next season. We'll have to see. So not shopping for a keeper, but if you are, Martinez looks the go-to if Ben Crellin is correct. Defenders then. We are shopping for defenders, and we both said that at least one defensive change is on the way. This table is for the last 6 game weeks. I extended it a bit more rather than last 4. And I've sorted by minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty, my favourite kind of expected stat, if you like. And Alonso, who's in my team, is out on top because of the few performances he's had. 205 minutes per expected goal involvement. When he plays, he's looked most likely to get attacking returns. Cancelo's still up there. And Alexander-Arnold has just been brilliant. I mean, he's got, is it a 3 bonus in the last 4 games? His revival is just extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he was miles clear until they conceded as well. Because I was watching it and I did check his bonus, and I'm sorry,
he held it low, so it didn't work. The curse didn't work.
Yeah, he was so far ahead. I looked at it, I was like, oh, even if they lose the clean sheet, he's still going to lose. He's still going to keep that free. So that's good. I mean, that's what you pay for. When you're paying 7.5 million for a defender, you need something a bit more than just a 6 points and stuff. You need an assist and some bonus every now and then. You need to not just rely on that 6 from clean sheets. I mean, and it's I think we both really wanted him to do this because we want him playing for England. We want him to be first choice because I think he's our best right back. I think he could play for any team in the world when he's on form. So. Yeah, good to see that he's stepping up, and I don't think Southgate can say no to him at the moment if he carries on. Yeah,
but interesting, if you look at the defenders who Ben feels will double in 35 and play in 36, it's really only Everton. I mean, you've got Konsa down the bottom there, if you're going to look at a Villa defender if you don't have Martinez. But Coleman and Dina, I mean, Dina's been in my team a couple of times this season and just absolutely let me down each time.
Same.
Would you go back again?
Not this season. No, I still, I still hold out hope that Ancelotti can do what he always does when he goes to teams and make him a really solid unit, get the most out of him. I think the chance he created are brilliant. I'm not surprised to see him, doing fairly well on this chart, but it's just Everton. I just don't trust them this season, especially between now and the end of the season. They're just so weird. The results they get, the fact they're so much better away from home than they are at home, the goals they concede, the chances the strikers miss, the injuries to Rodriguez and reliance on him. I don't think I'm going to touch Everton again.
I mean, even in the wing-back role, it's tempting again, but a third time, I don't know if I can go back again. And going back to Ben's chart, I mean, they've got Arsenal and Villa, and then his predicted double in 35 is West Ham and Villa. So they play Villa in the space of 2 game weeks because they've got to play them twice before the end of the season. Then, Sheffield United, Wolves, not bad. They end on City, of course. So the fixtures are pretty good for Everton if it does turn out this way. It is tempting again for him to be my Alonso replacement. I was looking at Saïs.
Really?
Well, I know. I was looking at Saïs as well because of the next run, Burnley, West Brom, Brighton. They don't have a double in 35, but the next 3 are very strong. But it for me, it is Leicester, Crystal Palace, Southampton, and then Newcastle, Man United possibly in game week 35. And if we go back to the table they've got, it's Ricardo Pereira who shows up on this table. And he was a player that, sorry to mention this as you were pimping, but was on the bench tonight. So he doesn't
like I said, I pimped him for next
week. All right, we'll see.
This is perfect. He's had a nice rest. Now he's ready and fresh for next week.
Could happen.
To vindicate me.
Not likely, but could happen. But what's your thought? I mean, Castagna's not in this table, right? He doesn't show up in this. So his attacking promise hasn't been strong of late, but he has got the assist tonight, and his data doesn't include tonight's game.
Hit the post as well.
Did he? Well, so there you go. He's showing up now, isn't he? So at 5-7...
There was no signs of that. There was no signs of that. I mean, when I was researching the Leicester defenders, it's a bit. I think the reason why Pereira stood out was just because of how none of the other defenders really seemed to show anything. I mean, Castagna is someone who at the start of the season was looking really, really good.
On fire,
5.5. I think he got a few assists in his first few games. Got injured, come back, hasn't really shown much. You look at Pereira's heat map when he plays in that wing back spot, and I was just looking at that and I was thinking, if he can get a run of games going, he's gonna deliver soon. He's expensive, he's a risk, he's missed out tonight, but Rodgers has said that he's kind of easing him, back into it. I think he'll be back in for the next game. And I think that Palace game is really nice.
It was a bad injury, wasn't it? So
it was. Yeah, he's been out for ages, and he came back, and then I think he picked up a couple of little knocks and stuff. They're having to be careful with him and manage him a bit. But the games he has played, he's been so advanced, and even games when he hasn't played in defence, he's been playing on the wing as well. So what you're getting is what you're getting a player when he starts is so involved in all their attacking play, and I think he's a decent punt.
So would you personally risk it, or would you just play safe with Castagna?
Yeah, I would. If I had the money, my choice of all the defence, I would go for him for sure. I think if I'm going to be looking to get in Greenwood, I'm going to need to free up a bit of money, which is why I go down to Fofana. But I'm not expecting any attacking returns out of him. I mean, Evans scored today, but that's his first goal in bloody ages. And Castagna, again, I think. I haven't seen the game today, but it just looks like West Brom just completely fell apart in the first half. So it's hard to put too much stock into it when he's been consistently poor in his stats from the last 4, 5, 6 games. Yeah, so it's still Pereira for me. He's still the one I'd pick.
Yeah, Castagna just hasn't been as prominent as he was early in the season. He hasn't been the factor in attack that he looked like he was going to be for the entire season. He just faded badly. But I like him. I think of all the lesser defenders, I don't like the insecure. I think going into 36, if we're going to have blanks there, as Ben predicts, you need assured starts, I think. And I think Castagna is that. Thomas played left wing back today, I think, and Castagna moved right. And I just think Castagna's got the start all the time. So for me, I would favour him, but I don't know if I do it this week because it would be for a hit this week. And when we look at my team, I don't know if it's worth doing. Let's look at mids. This is where Greenwood really comes to the fore again. So again, this table is sorted by minutes per expected goal involvement non-penalty. The last 6 game weeks, we saw how highly he was ranked last 4, but even going back last 6, he's second only to De Bruyne. De Bruyne, 114.2 minutes per expected goal involvement non-penalty. De Bruyne injured, of course. Not sure when he will return. That leaves Greenwood as the standout pick here, 116 minutes over the last 6 game weeks per expected goal involvement. But your friend Maddison is there as well.
I know. There he is. And someone I've been really wanting to get in. Didn't get anything again tonight. I think I saw someone say he kind of looked like he was hobbling off again. He's had the disciplinary stuff as well. He's just hasn't really shown me enough to think that he's a much better option over Greenwood. But when you look at the rest of this list, I mean, there aren't too many. This is why the template's so strong. Because, I mean, even though you look at these stats and you're looking at players like Bale, Mane, St. Maximan, Pulisic, Pepe, Torres, I mean, Jacob Murphy being on there, it's not exactly a list of people that I'd be rushing out to get in my team. So I think Greenwood and Maddison probably are the differential picks that I'd be tempted for. But I'm looking at Leicester, I'm thinking, you've got Iheanacho, who's a cert. Vardy he had a good game in the Cup, another good game tonight. And then you've got like Castagna or Pereira, whoever you want to go for. It's kind of thinking, is Maddison really the one that can kind of break up that template, especially when Greenwood's there around the same price? Bale's an interesting one as well, because he came straight back in the team with Mason there, scored. You know, he's a player who likes someone just to have their arm around him and just say, yeah, go on and do what you do. So I wonder if he can be a factor again. I don't know if I'll be going there, but could be a factor if you're looking for something a bit different. But yeah, not the most inspirational list, I don't think.
Yeah, and also obviously he isn't predicted he won't have a double, right? And so the end of the season, Sheffield United leads Wolves, Villa, Leicester. It's not a bad end to the season, but again, this is one of the questions as well we've got to ask ourselves: are we in danger of taking these doubles too seriously and then them warping our strategy from this point on? You know, because by the time the double's out of the way, if it is 35, we've only got 3 weeks left, and then, you know, if we've really committed to the double in 35 and gone for those teams and it doesn't work out, there's only you're not going to run away from that. You're kind of trapped in with those players. So if this is confirmed, say this was a definite scenario, how deep would you go with it? How many would you take hits to get more players at doubles, or have you learnt the lesson and would be more cautious?
I don't think so, because I think without the chips around, I think you've got to be thinking, you know, unless you're in head-to-head leagues, it's going to kind of balance out, right? Because if you obviously I'm in a couple of head-to-head leagues, and you know I need to think about that, because if I lose, you know, if I try and balance it between the two, I might end up losing both or whatever. Whereas if I can be a bit smart about who I bring in, then it can help. But at the same time, if you looked at it as being like, okay, there's a game now and a game there, and you're clever with your transfers, then I think that's probably a way to play it. I don't want to go absolutely mad on game week 35. I don't particularly like any of the doubles anyway. I don't really want to take too many crazy picks on players like Zaha and Everton players and stuff, and kind of be stuck with them. So no, I think this might be one of the least excited I get about a double, just because that blank straight after.
Yeah, because
it does happen like this.
All season we've kind of leapt on the doubles, and I obviously wildcarded for the double, I bench boosted, and looking back, really in hindsight, I don't know whether that really worked to my advantage. So I just think that one of the lessons I'm going to take into next season is just cool my boots a bit when it gets to double game weeks, and just sanity check that I'm making sound choices.
You
because
say
you
that
blind.
though.
I know.
I know. We both say
we get lost in it, don't we?
Excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you've got a bench, this is the thing, isn't it? As well. I mean, if you can look at them in separation, but if you've got the bench, then you can afford to be a little bit more adventurous. Because if you can get in a couple of players and then switch them out in the blank with your bench players who are have got fairly decent games, then you might be all right. But just looking, the blanks are quite, United, Leicester, Chelsea. They're three teams that we're probably all going to have. Well, what, 6 players? Lover's got 3 Chelsea, 2 Leicester, United. It's quite a lot of the team that's going to be missing in that.
So we're going to be in trouble in 36, aren't we?
We are, yeah, and that's I guess that's one of the things with Greenwood, as if you rush to get him in, but then he's got the double. I don't know, it's tricky.
I mean, if you're getting him
happy, not really thinking about this, to be honest.
I know, but this is it, isn't it? This is the end of season dilemma that we face. If you're getting him in for Bruno and you're freeing up that money and using it elsewhere, however you can use it. If you haven't got Trent, for example, it would free up the money to get Trent. I don't think there's too much damage in that. It depends. Going heavy on those teams that could blank in 36, you've got to be wary of it if this does materialise. And the other thing I'm worried about is I was all ready to go for Saïs. I was looking at him and going Burnley, West Brom, Brighton, Alonso to Saïs makes a lot of sense. The fact that I'm now looking elsewhere perhaps is a mistake. That's what I'm getting at. It's like, well, this is all very well. This might not materialise, but is it the right thing to abandon what your plans were because you see this double coming up and suddenly you're going to be planning for that? That's what we've got to be careful of as well, I think.
Yeah, and I'm not convinced it is. I think the one thing that strikes me is Leicester. I still really, really like investing in Leicester players right now, because you've got these 2 games and then you've got the double, and then you can decide kind of what to do, because then they come out of that with a blank Chelsea and Tottenham as well. So then you've got the opportunity to take them out, and if you've got Maddison or Pereira or whoever, then you can look to switch them. So I think now really is the time to invest in Leicester. Very easy to say after this 1-3-0, but that was always the plan.
Yep. Well, let's look at forwards briefly. I mean, one of the things about getting Fernandes out and getting Greenwood in was it would free up cash, but it's not as if you can spend that cash elsewhere, because up front at the moment with Kane, I mean, he's injured at the moment, but we've got to think that there's a chance that he figures at the weekend cup final. I presume, like me, you're looking at Kane and just wait and see. You're going to hold him. You're not going to think about getting rid yet. And you expect him to be back. Is that how you see it?
Is that Kane, sorry? So I was just banning someone in the chat because he's doing my nut. Kane, I don't know. I mean, if he doesn't play in the final, he's got to be out for a while. I mean, he's done his ankle again. Like, how quickly can they rush him back from that? Another ankle injury. It's like, what, his 3rd one this season? They obviously are going to want him back for that final, and I do wonder if they're going to strap him up and get him on there. But I think this could be another example of rushing him back too quickly just to get him out on the pitch. It could cause more damage to him. He might not be fully fit and ready for that final.
And the thing is, top four is still there for them, right? They're not out of it. So it would be a gamble throwing him in for that one game against probably the best team in the world. A game which you probably won't win anyway. I mean, I know it's silverware and Mason might be blinded by that, but I think he'd get more credit for getting them in the top 4. And by not playing Kane and keep trying to get him back for maybe, not the next game, the game after, might be the wisest decision, surely, rather than injecting it and getting him out there.
It's Kane though, isn't it? Like, we see this time and time again, different managers. It's happened with Mourinho, it's happened with Pochettino in the Champions League final. He's not ready for the games. And I think he's the one banging on the manager's door saying, I'm fine, I'm going to take some injections, whatever I need, get me on the pitch. Do you think Ryan Mason, 29 years old, is really going to be the person that goes, no, Harry, you're not playing in this final? Like, maybe your last final for Spurs and your biggest chance to win a trophy at the club and stuff.
True.
Unless Mason is told he cannot play in this game by the medical team, he plays.
Yeah. And then we'll see. I mean, I've said many a time that when he gets injured, he takes a couple of games to get back up to speed. Yeah. He really shows it, doesn't he? I don't know what. It's like his match fitness just disappears instantly and takes him a few games to get it back. So I'm worried about
most of the time he's not fully fit. I think most of the time he probably needs a few more weeks to train and to get get his body back from its broken state. And I think he's a professional, isn't he? It's a credit to him. He wants to play. He always wants to make himself available. Hates missing out. But I do think there's been times when he should. I'm convinced, and I know it was the most important game of Spurs is like history. But he should not have played that Champions League final. Like, he should not have. He bench maybe. He should not have started that final.
Can't blame him.
Yeah.
And like you say, he might call the shots with Mason. It's very.
I think he does. I think he did with Mourinho a lot of the time as well.
Yeah. So, and it's an interesting scenario because now with before Vardy's form tonight, I would have said, well, we hold Kane because what's the alternative? Vardy wasn't showing enough. He played better in the cup game.
What is this list?
I know there's not.
It's just.
It's not.
Batshuayi, Nketiah, Giroud, Gale, Iheanacho, fair enough, Martinelli, Robinson, Fabio Silva, Martial, Cavallin. It's, again, uninspiring, right?
We've had it all year, though, haven't we? Where the forwards have really. I mean, Danny Ings is the player, but he's never been fit for a sustained period. And Ings would be a player now where you go, okay, he's got the double game week in 35 maybe. He doesn't blank in 36 maybe. We can look at him. But he just breaks down. So he's not an option. Calvert-Lewin, I've got him. And, he's probably the best option now if you want a double game week player who doesn't blank. He will have the double game week, right, in 35. Maybe not in 35, but he's going to have one. So he's a good option.
He could be quite a shrewd hold, actually.
Yeah, well, that's why I held him, because I knew the double was coming. Yeah. I don't know. And he's fit now, right? So aside from Calvert-Lewin, though, Vardy's the only really one that stands out, isn't he? Martinelli could be, depends on how long Aubameyang is out for. Said it right?
But he's what, out? He's out of position, right? He plays on like left wing. Nketiah, I mean, we don't know how bad Lacazette is. Nketiah could. Well,
Lacazette is out.
Could be a factor.
But Aubameyang could be back in a couple of weeks, if not next week. So he'll play central. Nketiah could be. But yeah, it's slim pickings, isn't it? But Vardy has put himself forward now as a viable replacement to double up on Leicester.
Yeah, Vardy's very tempting. Yeah, I have to say.
Well, it's that run again and that double in 35 if Ben's correct. Yeah. But it's slim pickings elsewhere. I mean, I'm going to hold Calvert-Lewin and hope that...
Oh, Martinelli is a mid, Mark.
He's a mid, is he? Oh, okay. All right, maybe that's just the Opta data. Well, that means the scout data's wrong because he's listed as a forward there. So there you go.
Well done.
Yeah, got to put that right. Got to put that right. He's a player that hasn't been on our radar because he's looked effective when he gets his chances, but his chances have been few and far between because of injury. So he's not an option then. Fair enough. He's 4.9 as well. He could be a differential midfielder if you like. Then in that case,
yeah, I know. I like him now.
Yeah. But yeah, it is really difficult. It's been difficult all season to find free forwards that you can really bank on, which has been obviously driven us to do things like getting Keenan Davis in and, like you say, Vidra and so on, and just going two major strikers.
Antonio was perfect, wasn't he? But
again, like Ings, Antonio and Ings, two of the most talented fantasy assets around, but just not reliable at all. And it's left us with this kind of list, yeah. Where one of them isn't even a forward. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's look at our predictions. Now, we haven't got the predictions table yet because we're not at the end of the game week, but we can start looking ahead to our scores for game week 33. And yet again, and we said this last week, that when we don't see each other's scores, we kind of replicate each other almost.
Oh my God.
And we've done it again, haven't we? We've done it again. Like, straight away, we've both gone Everton to get the result at Arsenal. So what's your theory there then? Just the away form?
Yeah, pretty much. And Arsenal are just so hit and miss. And that's kind of all there is to it. I mean, you know, they play Fulham. They were lucky. They were lucky against Fulham to get the draw in that game. And I just, like I say, Everton, I'm finding a really tough team to predict at the moment. But Arsenal have got these injuries, you know, to a lot of their squad, and I'm gonna back Everton. I mean, I think Everton have created chances, just not taken them. I still think they're suspect at the back, but they should start putting some of their chances away. And like I said, I think Calvert-Lewin is actually a if I was going to pick one Everton player, it would definitely be him. Yeah,
I was really happy when he was fit because it was really giving me a problem otherwise. So I needed one of Rafinha and Calvert-Lewin to be fit, and Calvert-Lewin's someone I'm glad I held now, because I do think he's going to cause them problems in the air. And Arsenal without Lacazette and possibly Aubameyang as well, I think we'll have to turn to Nketiah. So
we've got one different result on this table, Mark.
Yeah.
As in one different
outcome.
Yeah.
Liverpool-Newcastle, we've both gone a home win, of course. I've gone 2-1. I just think that Liverpool's defence will give up a chance and Wilson or Sam Maximin will take it. You've gone 2-0, another clean sheet for Trent. We've both gone a draw, West Ham-Chelsea. It's hard to separate these two, wasn't it? I've gone 0-0 because I just think that Chelsea's defence is rock solid and I don't think they offer much in attack. I mean, based on what we saw the other night against Brighton, they don't offer enough in the final third. I thought they were abject. Really were. Havertz had a poor game. Ziyech had a poor game. Werner came on and did nothing again. They just, with Mount in a deeper position, they really lacked any creativity. I think Mount's got to play further forward. You're predicting 2-2, so you're presumably predicting Chelsea will have more clue in the final third. But
well, I think, you know, with Rice out, I think obviously West Ham are a bit more suspect, and you can see that they just haven't got that kind of real defensive cohesion that they have when he's bossing the midfield. So I think they'll give up chances, but also I've been impressed with them still in attack going forward with Lingard. So I think there's goals in it. I think the two predictions there are definitely two ways that game could go. It's either going to be quite an exciting open game, I think, or it's going to be a really cagey, boring 0-0. But I'm looking forward to watching it. So hopefully it's the former.
Yeah, it's the positions they're in as well. I mean, they're neck and neck, aren't they? They're going for that European spot, and I think there's so much at stake. That's why I've just gone 0-0.
Dawson out as well. Some point.
Yeah, that's true. Well, maybe your 2-2 could come true with that. I mean, when Dawson's not played, they have struggled for sure. So yeah, he's suspended, of course. Yeah. Sheffield United, Brighton, we've both gone the away win. I've gone by the 1-goal margin. You're predicting Brighton score 2 goals?
I know. When was the last time?
I know. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, we rested half our team for this game, so you know you've got to think that they're going to be ready to go. I think, you know, they're done, aren't they? They're just done, and I think this could be the game that really, if Brighton win this, I think that's it. Like, we are safe. So there's going to be a lot of what's the word? Desire to win it, and you know, against Newcastle, the pressure was on. We need to get that result. We got it, and I think we will against Sheffield United as well. I think we should win this. We just have too much of the thing. I think our style is good against a Sheffield United team who's probably going to sit back a bit and just accept what's coming to them. And I think we tend to do quite well when playing against teams like that.
Where's the cutting edge then? Welbeck, Trossard, I guess.
Yeah, and Mope will be back, and it's actually looked all right the last couple of games, I've thought. Be interesting to know what happens with Veltman, where he plays, and if Moda plays, and yeah, we've got options. I mean, I think we'll play a really attacking lineup, and I think we'll really get them.
Sanchez clean sheet for me. You going, Paul?
Yeah,
Jamie, I'll take that.
Right.
Wolves Burnley, feast of goals, of course. 12 o'clock, Garden Centre, written all over it. Oh dear, you're going a 1-0 win. I've gone 1-1. That's one of the outcomes we've got differently. I just fancy Burnley to score. Yeah, is it? I fancy Burnley to score. Wolves have got Traore at the moment. That's about it. Neto's injury has kind of crippled them a bit. We haven't had team news yet whether he's closer to a return, but where are the goals coming from for them? Whereas Burnley have got, I just think they'll nick one. Wood, Vidra, one of them will get a goal, I think. So I've gone that.
Yeah, it's only really because Burnley are away, and if it was the other way around, I probably would. It's just Wolves, isn't it? 1-0 was just quite a safe thing to bet on them at the moment, and I almost didn't do it because I thought, they've done 2 1-0s in a row. They're probably not going to keep a third one. I thought, you can't. That's just basing it on, just because that happened doesn't mean it's going to predict the future. So yeah, I just got another 1-0 Wolves. I've been quite safe for my predictions this week.
Well, we went 1-0 Wolves this time, and we got it right. I mean, they're the easiest team to predict in my book. I mean, one of my wishes for next season is that Wolves become a factor again, and we can start looking at their players.
As if Wolves are a safe 0-0, 1-0 team. What's happened?
I know, never was that.
Every week,
Nuno was enterprising football. The wing backs attacking. It's just not.
I know. Well, I think that's your reason. I think because losing the 2 wing backs has just completely messed them up and
unsettled them, didn't it?
Luke called Semedo straight away. He was like, "There's no way he's going to come into this team and be what Doherty brought to them," and he was right.
Leeds United both gone the away win. I've gone by 3-1. You've gone 2-1, and presumably we're factoring in Greenwood and Cavani. And do you think Bruno can get something out of this game? I mean, I looked at his data today, and I'm looking. I mean, we looked at it in detail last week. I still don't see enough to suggest there's been a massive slump to sell him for this game. The trouble with Bruno is you always feel like the return is there. He's still involved in a lot of obviously what United do. And I had a look at some new data today about passes into the penalty area. He's made the most successful pass into the penalty area all season than any other player. He continues to be at the hub of everything, but he's just that. With Pogba in the team, it's different, isn't it? It just feels different, his role.
I mean, why haven't there any penalties in a while? That's one reason. As much as we joked about it, it was quite a consistent return that you got from him because you had the likes of Rashford, Martial, Dan James, whoever it was, fast players getting brought down. He steps up, takes it. I think with Greenwood there over Cavani, I fancy them to get a penalty or 2 before the end of the season because I think he's going to invite it more because he'd get a touch and a defender's got to come in quick because he's so fast to pull the trigger and so accurate with how he shot. So that might rush defenders a bit more into making tackles. I think this is a good game for him, obviously, because of what you said. The stats are still decent. Leeds are probably going to play quite open. It's an amazing game earlier in the season as well, and yeah, I think it's going to. I mean, he's one of the best players in the league, playing for a team with the best attacking stats in the league, playing against a team that can concede loads of goals. I don't think this is the game to be getting rid of him, even though he's been blanking.
I mean, as I said a few months back, we were saying he was the best FPL asset around, and he was. He was performing at that level, and it has coincided with Pogba breaking into the team. So there is something in that, perhaps. The penalties, I just think generally defenders have just wised up to the penalties. The whole hands tucked in, but also the challenges. They are really making fewer challenges in the penalty area, and the penalties that we've seen have been really silly, rash challenges, sliding tackles on one of the sidelines of the box. They haven't been like trips to deny an obvious goal scoring opportunity as such. They've been just careless, momentum type tackles, really. So I just think generally defenders have wised up, and so that's why. And you think you're right. Bruno's penalties did perhaps pull the wool over our eyes a little bit, and perhaps make him look like a stronger asset than he really was. But I guess you could accuse Salah of that for a spell as well. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get rid for this game, but I've got to consider it going forward because he has, as I said, his demise has been stark.
If this was, 10 weeks ago, this would be the game. It'd be an almost automatic captain.
Captain, yeah.
But the fact that neither of us are even really thinking about him for the captaincy option in this, which is probably their best game, I think, best potential-wise between now and the end of the season for him, is this. And I'm not even thinking about him. Kind of shows how far he's fallen. Yeah.
I mean, he will be a differential captain. You'd be brave to go with him over Salah. But on paper, like you said, you would say he would be first choice a few months back. Well, he would have been.
Yeah. Yep.
Villa West Brom 1-1, both gone for the same outcome, same score. Villa struggle for goals. It's a local derby. If Grealish was back, I'd tip him to win this for them, but we just don't think he will be. So we've gone a draw here. West Brom presumably down after that.
I'm a bit less confident on that one after West Brom today, just completely falling apart. I mean, you've been,
I thought they'd win there.
If the results were coming in for West Brom that you predicted, they'd be about 10th in the table by now. You've been backing them every week to get something. I wonder when that is going to end. Like they another big defeat today. They really are clinging on now. It's only Fulham that I think can survive, and I think that's probably too much for them now. I think it's going to be Fulham, West Brom, Sheffield United. I think that's pretty much locked in now to go down. So
I agree. Yeah. And Leicester Palace, I've only gone 2-1. You've gone 3-0. I imagine you're pretty confident in that now after tonight.
Yeah, it's all firing. I mean, we talked about Vardy last week. We said he didn't look right. He's back at the perfect time. Like I said, good performance in the cup, and now again tonight, playing against Palace, who I think are probably the team in the league that can fall apart if the teams are really at them and go at them. Probably similar to West Brom. So yeah, I fancy Leicester to really go at them. They're getting some players back. Madison's back. Pereira's going to play. Getting a bit more solid in defence. Should be a good game for them.
Yeah, and it's funny. I mean, I wonder what it was with Vardy, why he looked so off it at West Ham. I wonder whether the hip injury he's got was troubling him in that game. I haven't seen tonight's game. I don't know how he performed, but the output was great. I imagine his performance was good as well. And like I said, with the Kane injury looming as well, suddenly that option is awake again and alive to us. Let's look at the captain. The captain matrix is something that obviously we've got now to the end of the season. We can plot every captaincy up there. And we talked about Bruno last week and the fact that he doesn't really factor in this. And that's another reason why after this Leeds game, he doesn't really have a match where we would look to him as captain over anybody else. Maybe game week 37 at home to Fulham, when Fulham are down by that point, I imagine. But you've always got Salah or De Bruyne or Kane at home to Villa. And they're strong alternatives. Plus you can go Lingard and Rafinha in that week. So I haven't changed too much in this, other than add a few differentials for this game week with Salah as the standout pick. So let's look at the data behind that. And as I looked at this, data over the season and also over the last 4 game weeks, it was really Salah's recent form, we spoke about it earlier, that makes me think this isn't the game week to take a risk and take a punt. There's people on Twitter talking about it and eyeing up Greenwood, maybe Iheanacho as well, who's at home to Crystal Palace, and you've tipped a big win there. What's your view? Is Salah so stand out that you wouldn't dare go differential?
I think you're being a little bit harsh not putting Iheanacho and Vardy in that primary captain bracket, because I don't think there's a huge amount in it between the three of them. And a few weeks ago I would have said Salah was obvious, but given that Newcastle have been better, Liverpool still haven't been impressing too much, and how good Leicester were tonight, and the fact I think it's probably the best game of the week, and just what Iheanacho's doing, I mean, just every week, I just never thought he could be like a reliable goal a game type person. And if I had Vardy, I think I'd probably go with him.
Well,
he'd be I'd go.
This is what's interesting, because this data was before tonight's game. Before tonight's game, last 4 game weeks, Vardy's expected goal involvement, non-penalty, 620.7 minutes. He was having a shot. He was having 1 shot a game over the last 4 game weeks. So his data was awful. Now, his data is never something to judge him by. He's not a player you look at his stats for. But even by his standards, his data had gone and declined massively. And he was failing the eye test as well. So tonight's performance and return is just changed everything. And yeah, I think you're right. Off the back of tonight, Vardy has got to be considered. Iheanacho is there as well. I'm getting Salah in. Right? I don't have Salah at the moment. And the plan was always to go Son to Salah. I've saved the money to do it. I was thinking of maybe doing Bruno to Salah, but it probably will be Son to Salah, because obviously Son is inactive. It means I've got more chance of making sure I get an 11 out. And I think if I'm going to get Salah in, I've got to put the armband on him. He's effective ownership.
His home record, Mark.
Yeah, I know, and I've said it before. I think Newcastle are a better team now, obviously, but I think they could be more open. I think I don't know what their tactics are going to be at Anfield. Normally, without Saint-Maximin and Wilson, you know exactly what Bruce is going to do. He'll turn up with as many defenders on the pitch as he can and try and hold on and hope for a set piece. With Saint-Maximin and Wilson in the team, and then presumably he'll start Almiron as well, I don't know if he'll do that. I wonder if he'll just go and have a go at it. What do you think?
Yeah, could do. Yeah, someone's put out in the chat, it's home record and the early kickoff. Two big factors for you when it's coming to picking your captain.
I do hate the early kickoff.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope Newcastle do go at them. They've been a hard team to predict. Like they put had 6 centre mids on against Sheffield United, and then really went at City or whoever it was, and it's hard to predict what they're going to kind of do. Yeah, I mean, FPL SWAT in the chat says Iheanacho 8 shots tonight, 4 in the box, top of all shot stats. So, I think the question mark a few weeks ago was, is it Vardy or Iheanacho? I think it's now, is it Vardy and Iheanacho? Because Iheanacho just is locked in. The captaincy between them, again, you could get swayed because Vardy's got the high price tag as well, but he has got the penalties. And really, I think they're the ones that really rival Salah. I listen to you sometimes, and I think the Newcastle factor, the fact they've been better, and the fact that Liverpool at home haven't been so strong, it definitely does sway me towards one of the Leicester players this week.
Yeah, I must admit, I mean, off the back of I haven't seen it, but the result tonight, it does narrow it a lot. I mean, let's look at the defensive data behind this. So Leicester obviously played Crystal Palace. Over the last 4, they've been poor. Only Sheffield United worse amongst the opposition to our candidates. So minutes per XG conceded over the last 4, 39.5, conceded a chance every 5.8 minutes. I mean, Newcastle aren't much better. They've conceded a chance every 5.7 minutes, so more frequently. And minutes per XG, 47.7. So Newcastle defence over the last 4 is better than Palace's. Certainly in terms of big chances conceded every 40 minutes, whereas Palace have conceded a big chance every 22.5. The data suggests there's a big win for Leicester off the back of tonight. If Vardy is back, Maddison may be getting up to speed, and Iheanacho, obviously form is undeniable. So yeah, I think you're right. I think after tonight's game, the gap between Salah and the rest has narrowed, and for me, Iheanacho is what I would go with. So I'm tempted in terms of taking a punt. The trouble is, as I've said to you before, I've taken punts for a couple of weeks now. I went with Fina, I went with Sterling, and so I played safe with Kane, obviously. I'm just tempted to just play safe again with Salah because it's most likely.
Is he a punt though? Would you describe
Iheanacho
at this point as
this
punt?
is it.
Because I don't think he is. I mean, he's the most informed player in FPL. He's delivered 6, 13, 2, 17, 9, 9 in his last games. He's just absolutely crazy, like form-wise. I think he obviously hasn't got the pedigree of doing it over continuous seasons in Salah, but I think it might be doing him a bit of a disservice to say that it's a punt, given his ownership as well, and I think quite a few people are going to be going there.
Yeah, he does. I mean, Salah has the penalties. Salah's had the rest, and he's going to start for sure.
That's true.
It's very much closer now than it was 24 hours ago.
Last week, yeah, exactly. I know it is. Yeah,
and I think there's real merit in going with Iheanacho. I mean, the defensive data for Crystal Palace backs it up. Of course, the stats for Iheanacho back it up. Tonight he returned again, and Salah at home has been pretty disappointing. Well, very disappointing, as of Liverpool, of course. Yeah. I'm now in two minds, definitely, and it really depends on what. And we talked about this before about confidence, right? And you kind of poo-pooed the idea that it should be a factor, momentum, if you like. But it has affected me, like by going with the differential picks for those 2 weeks and failing. It has made me go into my shell a bit with the captaincy and go, I'll just play safe. But at the same time, I'm conscious of the fact that my team is template, 81% according to Ragaboli's site. And if I want to get in the top 1K, I've got to do something different, I think, at some point. And I look at the last 3 game weeks and think that's where I will maybe push. But maybe Iheanacho is the way to go.
Do you think Salah's EO is going to be higher than Iheanacho's though?
Yeah, I think most people will go with Salah. I don't think there's any doubt.
I think it's going to be close.
Do you?
I don't think it's as big a punt as you seem to think. I think Iheanacho's ownership's going to be higher.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are gonna give him the armband based on his form. I think it's going to be close between them actually. Yeah, I mean, I only poo-poo the idea of momentum because it doesn't influence the result.
No, of course not.
That's all I mean. I mean, it's I get it from a psychological perspective. And this is what I said about mode when you were talking to him on the pod, and how people take like a snapshot of a strategy and try it for a few weeks and then give up on it, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad strategy or the wrong strategy or taking these punts. But also it depends on where you are in the rank, and I don't think this is like a season defining decision between them, because I think they're both good options. I think they're both going to be highly owned anyway. I don't think any's a real punt. It's not like me going for Trossard when Kane had such a high ownership. Yeah, I think it's really close between them this week. It'll be really interesting.
Well, let's look at our teams and what we're going to do. You talked about your transfers earlier. So talk us through this 11 that you've got there. You've just got Nacho up front in a 5-4-1. What are you going to do with this shower?
Bit of a mess, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mendy in goal, Trent, Reguilon, Cody, Rudiger, Holding, Salah, Fernandes, Jota, Lingard, Iheanacho. The good news is I do have 2 free transfers, so I can mix things up a bit. I don't want Reguilon going forward, so he's an easy move. It's just what direction I go, really, because I'm either going to go up to Pereira, I think, or down to Fofana, and then that gives me a little bit of money to play with. I could do Kane to Vardy, which is something I'm considering. Jota, I don't know what's going on with Jota. We might know a bit more about it tomorrow. Might know a bit more about Kane tomorrow as well. So it's quite hard to tell you exactly what I'm going to do. But for example, I could, if Jota's going to be out for a few weeks and Kane's sort of nearing fitness, I think I'd do Reguilon and Jota to Greenwood and Fofana.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, you're right. It's almost like we've got to try and find a place for Greenwood. I definitely subscribe to that. It feels a bit like chasing points. I worry about the fixtures. And I guess
it's got to be this week because you've got to target that Leeds game.
Yeah, and I guess then that gives you the ability to lose Fernandes with
exactly.
Coverage is a bad word, but it is a factor, right? It is. I mean, if you have Greenwood, does it feel better losing Fernandes if you have Greenwood? I think it does.
Yeah, and I think looking at it logically, if you're going to take one United player forward, which one do you want? It's because it's not just a case of Greenwood versus Fernandes. It's a case of Greenwood and 5 million. Versus Fernandes, and when Vardy is there as a kind of potential option that I could maybe move to, having that quite extra chunk of money could actually come in useful.
Well, you want to be able to upgrade Davis because you don't want to take him into 36 if the blanks are
exactly.
there.
Yeah.
So maybe the Calvert-Lewin or something like that is what you could do. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. We'll see what you do. We got less than 24 hours to decide, of course. Deadline on Friday.
I know.
Yeah, I don't like the Friday deadlines. It just feels rushed, doesn't it? To have to make up your mind there. You have got all the press, the embargo stuff not come out. Don't like it. So I've got at the moment Sanchez. He's obviously an active keeper, which is a novelty, which is nice. At Sheffield United, hopefully he gets me something there. Alonso at the moment, Trent, Rudiger, Son, who would be the player I'm going to get rid of, has got the armband. Obviously, that's going to be Salah. Lingard, Fernandes, Jota, Rafinha, Iheanacho, Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin being fit changes everything. I didn't like my team at all until that, because with the flag on him, I would have possibly Rafinha, Calvert-Lewin and Alonso not playing. And then, I'm bringing in Dallas and Holding for sure. Now, Alonso will not start at West Ham. And so I probably will have to go with Dallas or Holding because there's a chance Alonso gets some minutes. I think Chilwell starts. Alonso is dreadful. And it's Chilwell's shirt, surely. So Alonso didn't work. I might hold him because the Fulham game could be a game where he comes back in because that Fulham game is around the European tie. So Alonso might be worth holding. I do think that should I go Alonso to Castagna to get that Leicester defender for the Palace game and then pocket someone who's likely to have a double, it's a consideration, but for a hit, I don't think.
I mean, my big question for you is: you're losing Son. If Kane is injured for longer, you're losing a player who's probably playing out of position and on penalties, about to play Sheffield United. Have you got plans to get him back?
Yeah, well, I guess I would have to do Bruno to Son, wouldn't I?
Yeah, you'd have to. Yeah.
Which would give me a lot of money, and I don't know where I would spend that money because, like we said, where'd you go? And I guess if Kane is out long term, then he would have to go as well. I mean, there's hits coming up, isn't there? There's going to be hits. If not this week, they're coming. I guess the hits would be more palatable when we know what's going to happen with the double game weeks. When we know the double game week fixtures are there, the 4-point hits suddenly turn into 2. But as we've seen with Ben's scenario, you've got to be wary of the blanks as well. So it's a big problem. Yeah.
As happy as I was going Maverick with the Trossard captaincy, I'm just as happy that I went boring with getting Son in, because he's delivered in both games. He's saved me a transfer, not having to get him. So that was actually probably one of my better decisions this season is ignoring you calling my mild card a mild card, which it was. It
was, but it's come off for you. It's been effective.
It has. Yeah.
And it's interesting. I think that the Sterling move, which saw me take a risk on him, has put me back in that it means I'm one step behind now. I don't have Salah, so I've got to get him. Then I won't have Son, so I've probably got to get him back. The only thing that saves me is the Calvert-Lewin thing, because I'm probably one step ahead there, because he's a player that once the double is announced, people are going to want. So I'm maybe level now, having been behind. So that's why I'm thankful I held Calvert-Lewin. But that Sterling move frustrates me now. I've got to learn from that. I got kind of dazzled by the chance of a long shot coming off. And it not only cost me in that game week, I think it's going to cost me for a couple more, maybe for the run-in. So we'll see how costly that's going to be. I'm hoping Calvert-Lewin compensates for that. So yeah, I've got a lot of decisions to make. It's going to be based on Rafinha's fitness. If Bielsa confirms he's fit, I then have the option. I could get Bruno out, but it's just getting rid of him for the Leeds game feels wrong. It would mean I could keep Son then. So that is something I consider.
It is a tricky one.
It's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult.
It is. Yeah. I mean, you could even maybe say if Jota wasn't injured, maybe just stick with Jota and give him the captaincy if you're sure on Liverpool, whatever. But the other thing though is without Jota there,
that's another problem.
Worse option, because
possibly
the less good. Yeah, it's difficult. Ding 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 ding.
Yeah,
ding,
less than 24 hours as well to draw conclusions on this.
I personally wouldn't be wanting to go into this without Salah. So I think you do need to sell. I think you do need to sell Son.
Yeah,
but I would definitely be getting him back for that Sheffield United.
I mean, the way I look at it is the strategy I've always had is sell the player who's not getting you points or injured and can't get you points. Son can't get me anything, so he's got to be the player to sell. I think on that logic. Yeah, Salah's the player to bring in, and that would mean by getting an inactive player out and Salah in, it means I can absorb Rafinha being out and maybe Jota being out as well. We'll have to see. So,
well, I mean, absolute worst case scenario, this is all like Sterling and being one transfer banner that's cost you 4 points, right? And you're 3K in the world, and as long as you get more decisions right than you get wrong, you'll have had a good season. So.
Oh yeah, exactly. I feel like I'd have to have a disaster now to drop out the 10K. I'd like to think I can put the brakes on it.
There's a sound bite. There's a sound.
Yeah, the word final.
Come on.
Shouldn't have said that. Shouldn't have said that.
Here we go.
That could be sampled and played back to me later if only you had the capability that I've got here. But yeah, I know. I do feel like I think I'm 20 odd points clear now of the 10K. So I think if I had a bad game week, I'd just play conservative and try and hold the top 10K rank. So it's a question now of how much I push. How much do I push to try and get in the top 1K? Very difficult. I've got a lot to consider over the next few hours. Let's talk about a couple of things to end on. Let's bring up The Apprentice again. Just to reiterate, this is what we're looking for next season and pre-season. We are looking for somebody out there, or maybe more than one person out there, who is new to FPL, knows a bit about football, and will be willing to come on the podcast, come on the stream, and someone who'd be willing to be a guinea pig for me and Az to kind of teach them the ways of FPL, but also gradually expose them to the different kind of strategies in FPL, whether that be stats, whether that be the community noise on Twitter, whether that be the concept of the eye test and stuff like that. It's something we're quite excited about, and something we've already got some good suggestions and candidates out there, but we're looking for more, aren't we, Az?
We sure are, yeah. And you know, the like I said, we had a brilliant video from someone kind of doing an apprentice style interview, and you know, if you do have the time to put one of those together, it's great to see you, because you know, realistically, if we look at your email and we decide that we, you know, like the look of you, we'll probably call you up and you'll probably have to do a little interview in the loosest sense of the word, a chat with us.
Yeah.
So yeah, it did really stand up. If you're interested, get in touch. Apprentice at FPLBlackBox.com. This is going to roll on for a while. We're not in a mad rush to pick people, but like I said, we are getting some applications in now. So if you're interested, or if you know someone that's interested, so if you listen to, you know, if you watch football with your wife or your partner or friends or family, and none of them know what FPL is or anything like that, then it's a good opportunity and for them to learn. And there's been nothing like this done that I know of in the community at all. So someone coming in completely fresh with, you know, coming on podcasts and talking about their experience as a new player should be something really, really interesting. So get in touch if you know anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be really good. The other thing I want to talk about is Fantasy Football Fest, which is something that I've announced that I'm involved with. So I just want to briefly touch on that. That is another exciting thing, hopefully for the pre-season. We've got a launch party coming up on the 13th of August, which is the day before or the day the season starts, if there is a Friday kickoff. Scout are partnered with us, Hub are partnered with us, Fix are partnered with us. So we are literally uniting the community. So Ed, Gianni and myself are very excited about that. And hopefully when the tickets go on sale, I get the chance to meet some of the people out there in the community and maybe some of the people in chat tonight as well. You're going to come along, aren't you guys? I mean, it's the day of the deadline, but you'll be there. Of
course I am. There'll be booze there, right?
There'll be booze. We hope there'll be the match live as well, whatever that match will be. And it's going to be good. I mean, after all this time kind of being in lockdown and also me being more active in the community, for me, I'm really looking forward to putting faces to Twitter handles, if you like, and also kind of meeting some of the other content creators out there that I've admired over the last 6 months, 9 months, that have just done brilliant stuff and talking about what we do. So hopefully there'll be a lot of names there from the community, and obviously, hopefully a lot of people that are in chat as well get a chance to come along. It's the launch party. After that, we're obviously going to be doing hopefully bigger events, pre-season, Christmas events as well. That's what it's going to be about. It's something I've talked about for a while when I was with Scout, and it's something I'm really excited to be involved in from this point on. So I'll talk about that more when there's more details. But yeah, hope to see you.
In my mind, FPL Pot Noodle was just a big walking pot noodle.
Oh, I hope so. Yeah, I hope.
So if he's...
This is it. It's going to be weird, isn't it? Meeting the people that are behind the Twitter handles and stuff in person. And I said last week about the community, how it comes together. And I think that, yeah, a lot of people go on about the FPL community having some bad aspects to it. But I generally think, I mean, I've been in gaming communities and they have their problems, and which go beyond anything that I've seen in the FPL community. So I generally think it's a brilliant community. I really love it. And I think something like this every year will bring it even closer together, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure.
Be really good. So that's that. I think that all that's left then is, one more mention. I mentioned Pete Wilkins, who is a friend of the show, helping me to set this studio up, and he got through to the last 64 of the cup as.
Oh yeah, that's amazing, isn't it?
And there was another guy
on Twitter as well. Yeah.
I saw that. I did make a note then. It's Aya Das, who you congratulated today. He is also in the last 64 of the FPL Cup. So Iria and Pete are our two teams that we will follow into the final rounds. Hopefully they meet in the final. That would be awesome.
Oh my God, that would be good.
But it'd be so great if someone we know actually wins that cup, because as we've said previously, it's been a mystery to us. We've never known what it's like, or known anyone who's got into the later rounds. So keep going, Pete and Aria, and we'll follow your progress. No BlackBox League to touch on this week because the game week's not over, but we will bring that back.
Sorry, Connor.
Yeah, sorry, Connor. I know you're in chat again. You will have your your moment again next week when we check in on how you guys are doing. So it's just over to you now, Az, to do the smash.
Are we doing a backstage tonight?
We can do a backstage tonight. I'm up for it. Very much so. Tonight? Yeah.
Okay. Well, until then, again, we've got 1,400 watching live, 217 likes. So smash that like button. Smash it right now, as I always say. But yeah, great show, Mark. Thanks for all the work you put in, as usual. And thanks, everyone, for watching. And if anyone wants to stay on, we will be switching over to another video to do the backstage stuff. We can ask us some questions. But if not, then we'll see you next week.
Yeah, 14k subs we hit last week, didn't we? So we're climbing up. Keep us going. Keep us going. It'd be good if we can get near 20 before the start of next season. That's a little target for us. But yeah, so it's good night for me.
Good night, everyone.